Got my coffee, ready to go. How's everyone been? It's been a bit since we did a proper coffee with Eric. I am streaming from a different room this time. This is actually more like the office. Usually I'm doing from like the corner of, it's technically a bedroom, but I use it as sort of an office too. But this is the second bedroom, which I mostly just use as an office. Is 2.0 releasing this year? Totally. The answer to that is, in my head, the answer is always yes. To me, it's, I was joking about this before, but saying like, pretty much every day I wake up with the attitude, like if I work really hard, I can get like 2.0 done before I go to bed. It never happens, but I keep working on it. I don't know. Like, yeah, I made a rule, like I never give dates for releases. You know, I'm copying from like, I know Blizzard used to be famous for that back in the day. You know, you ask them like, oh, when's StarCraft 2 going to be out? Like when it's done. I don't know. I'm still working full steam towards it, but stuck on 1.8 for a while, and I keep getting all these little side quests. They're good side quests, but they're side quests nonetheless, which has been kind of slowing me down. Yeah, 1.7, like 1.7 has been a lot of like disjointed little things. You know, it really, I should have broken 1.7 up into like 2 or 3 releases, because it's been like this long. If you look through like the release notes, there's I think 1.7.20, and I think there was one other one that was like a huge release, even though it's all part of 1.7. So 1.7 has definitely been like more of a thing than it should have been. 1.8 is tantalizingly close. Like asset packages are the big thing for 1.8, and like so much of that is already in place. Like if you go in here, if anyone's been looking around here, there's all this stuff on ballistica.net for, I've kind of revamped it lately, made asset packages work better just because I'm starting to like use them myself a little bit. So there's all this stuff in place for wrangling asset packages and doing cool things with them. I just need to like finish that off and get 1.8 out the door. But there's there's a few more side quests that have been kind of important. Like the one I've been working on right now, which I'm almost done with. I was hoping to be fully done today, but I think it'll probably come in tomorrow or maybe the next day, is V2 verification for servers. And so I know some of you guys have been running into problems where people have basically, all the old like V1 account stuff is fragile and insecure and hackable and spoofable and stuff. So what happens if people join a server, it's possible to kind of spoof someone else's V1 identity. I know people have been running into that, like if you have admin functionality on your server, or if like you've exposed commands, you know, someone can come in and spoof someone else's account and then, you know, cause problems. So the thing I'm working on right now is basically using V2 accounts for, what am I doing? Using V2 accounts for server verification. So like when you join a server, then the server gets your V2 ID and like all your V2 account info, and it should be pretty much perfectly secure, I think. All the V2 stuff has been pretty solid so far. So just to show you how that will work a little bit, CMake, I always forget paths. Server debug, staged, where is that? Config template. So anyway, if any of you guys are running a server, what will happen, I'm still finalizing the details, but basically what I'm thinking what will happen is there's going to be protocol version 36 is a new protocol version. So if you bump your server to use protocol version 36, that means everything will use like V2 accounts. So if you come in here for your server, set that to 36, then basically all this like verification, oh yeah, authentic clients true, I think that's default. But what that means is then everything will use V2 accounts and V2 account IDs instead of V1 accounts. So if you're setting up admins, you have these PB things, this is V1 account IDs, public V1 account IDs, but you'll have something like A0 or, you know, A1, blah, blah, blah. Like everything will deal in V2 account IDs. So A0 is me, I was the first account. I don't know who this is. This is probably actually a real person. Someone could look them up. But anyway, that's how it works when Authenticate Clients is on. There's some other better parts too, like basically the way it works now is the master server will contact your server before someone is even allowed to join your game. I know there's been problems where, the old authentication stuff, someone could technically join your game, cause a little trouble before like you kick them because they failed authentication. But in this case, it actually authenticates them before they're able to even join your server, so you can like screen everybody before they get in. So that should be good. And like I said, it should be, as far as I know, pretty secure. So there should be no more spoofing and all that for joining joining games. So anyway, that stuff, it should be out probably, like I said, maybe an early version tomorrow, maybe later today if I'm really productive. We'll see. So yeah, that's anyway, that's what I've been up to the past few days or very recently. Make an easy way to make a custom server without port forwarding. That's what squads mode is kind of intended for. So the next thing, as soon as I'm done with this silly 1.8 stuff, I'll be moving on to 1.9. 1.9 is all about squads mode, and squads mode should be where everything is kind of managed in the cloud for you. Like if you host a game or whatever, it'll be hosted on my servers, so it should be good latency, and then everyone should be able to join it. And you should be able to use mods on those servers too. That's part of the goal. So anyway, that's squads mode is all about making it easier to play with your friends, host your own games, or also just do like arranged matches with other people. So lots of cool stuff that squads mode will let us do. There's been talking about making it easier to host. There are tricks you can do, like port forwarding is just kind of it's a fact of life a little bit with networking. For the outside world to communicate with your server, it has to somehow get through your router, and that's what port forwarding is. There are tricks where you can, I forgot the name of them. There are tricks where your server can kind of, I don't know. There are certain tricks where basically you can effectively do port forwarding without having to do port forwarding. So we could, there has been talk about adding that functionality into the game, like getting that sort of working. So what I mentioned, hole punching. That's the general term for it. So if anyone wants to get hole punching up, or get that working, I think I mentioned before, I'm happy to accept pull requests and all that. It's just, I feel like I should focus my time on moving towards squads mode. So that's more of like a do-it-yourselfer thing. That would be great for all the existing servers and everything. If we could get hole punching going, so you don't have to worry about forwarding. But yeah, from my perspective, like squads mode is my bigger goal. So just because hole punching would make it easier to have servers that everyone can connect to, but like squads mode adds some other stuff too, in terms of like being able to automatically assign a server to have two teams play on, and like higher level stuff that we can do, or like tournaments where there's all sorts of games happening on all sorts of servers, and it's all like automatic. So that's my goal with squads mode, but yeah, hole punching would be good too. It is annoying to not be able to host games, on your own computer or whatever, unless you're messing with your router. That sucks. Okay, what is future with purple tickets? So I added purple tickets just as kind of a fun extra thing that is like rare. So my thought is like there will probably just be more stuff in the store, like little rare things that are purple tickets only, or maybe some things are like very expensive and regular tickets, but a few purple tickets. So it's really nothing more than just I wanted to add something that's fun and kind of rare to look for in chests. Especially I'm having to rebalance tokens. Like it used to give more tokens in chests. I'm kind of like, I'm dialing back on that just so the economy works better. If people get too many tokens, then it makes it harder for me to, make money, to be honest, from the game. So it just makes that stuff harder to balance. So I need to make tokens a bit more like constrained to like real money stuff. So on that note, I wanted to add some other stuff that is, you get in the game and it's purely like in-game stuff that's kind of like rare and fun. We could add blue tickets or other color tickets. I don't know if I want to go too crazy with tickets, but yeah, that certainly would be an option. Like maybe a different color of ticket that you only get for like winning certain tournaments or something. Who knows? It was partly just like introducing a second currency just to like try out that path of, or a second in-game currency, I mean. Or we could have stuff that's not tickets, just like collectible things or something, just something you get by winning a tournament, and then you could use that to do something else. I don't know. Lots of options. Has anybody gotten many purple tickets? I'm curious, like how, I know they're very rare. It's like the bigger chest, it's like a few % chance. The smaller chest, it's like less. I should put, I don't actually have this in my database. I can't actually like look up who has the most purple tickets, but I would be curious. I put the holy potato in there. I assume you all saw the holy potato. If you get too many purple tickets, you can buy the holy potato. I think last I checked, there was like one person in the world that bought the holy potato. Ooh. Okay, so there's some folks getting purples. Okay, yeah, so about BS Remote, that's another, like, I really would love to, well, my plan for BS Remote is to basically take the guts of the game and, rip out everything except the on-screen controls, and then just basically update BS Remote to be that. So if you're not familiar, BS Remote is, it's just the remote app where you can use your phone as a controller, so it's handy if you have a bunch of friends playing on a TV or something. But it is super, super old code at this point and super janky. And it sounds like it's crashing in some cases, like on iOS and whatever else. So yeah, at some point I want to replace that with basically Bomb Squad itself with, with everything stripped out except the controls. So it'll be like literally the same controls that you can use in the game or in the full game. So you get like swipe controls and stuff. I would designate that as another side quest. I feel like that's probably a few days of work, and I would love to do it. It's just I'm not sure when I'll slot that in. Yeah, I try to balance like a certain set of like staying on target and also side quests. I feel like for me side quests are fun because it's kind of changing things up and doing something different for a few days. I try not to do too many of them because it slows down real progress. I mean it is progress itself, but it slows down like 1.8 and stuff. But yeah, I can't promise exactly when the remote app would be updated. Some of this stuff I would say like, keep asking about it because some of this stuff I just do based on like how much I'm hearing about it. For instance, the account spoofing stuff for people joining servers, like I've been hearing a lot about that. So that's something I decided to prioritize that 100% to get that finally taken care of. So yeah, if remote app is broken for you, like please keep making a bit of noise or gently poke me to remind me that that's something I should focus on at some point. Are you going to play GTA 6 when it comes out? I don't have time. I got to get Bomb Squad done. I loved, I remember when GTA 5 came out. That doesn't seem that long ago at this point, but it was like a million years ago. Going to my friend's place and just like watching them play GTA 5. We were all, computer graphics nerds, so we were just like nerding out about how nice it looked and everything. I'll probably do the same for GTA 6. Just go find someone to like watch them play it, and I'll just like nerd out about the cool graphics, and then get depressed at like all the all the amazingness and like huge scale and everything. That would always happen for me. I feel like that does happen for me. Like doing like the indie game thing, it can be a little depressing. Like watching a AAA game and just like, oh my gosh, look at all these look at all these assets, look at all this like detail and everything. So I don't know. There's that part of me. It's like I shouldn't watch AAA games. Or when I was working, in visual effects at Pixar, sometimes like watching. I remember watching like the original Avatar, like with the insane visual effects it had and everything. It was just like depressing almost in a way. Like, oh my gosh, we could never compete with that with our little like effects team. That's just a small part of the movies. Okay, I'm facing OpenGL 3.2. This, I assume you're on Windows, right? So it's telling you that you don't have OpenGL 3.2. So here's another side quest. One thing, my plans have been kind of solidifying on this. The game right now, it only has an OpenGL renderer. I was thinking of different ways to go for the future. Like one would be to make multiple renderers, have like a DirectX renderer. because even like integrated, a lot of like Windows, integrated graphics setups and things like that, they probably don't have good OpenGL support. OpenGL it's used for like 3D graphics apps and stuff, but it's not used that much for games anymore. Everything's, you got to be DirectX or Vulkan or whatever. So yeah, I was thinking about like whether to go down the path of like splitting off different renderers, which would be kind of hard to maintain. But then I was looking into what's called Angle, which is Angle OpenGL. It's by Google. I've talked about this before, but it's basically OpenGL implemented in other renderers to be pretty efficient. So actually, Android at some point is going to be using Angle for OpenGL. It's just everything is going to be Vulkan, and then OpenGL will be Angle as a layer under that. But you can also use this for Windows builds, which is a kind of a common thing. So that's, at some point, my plan is to get Windows builds running with Angle here, which means we'll be able to use like all the OpenGL stuff we need, except it'll be running under Direct3D or DirectX, whatever it's called, which means it should run on integrated cards and things like that. So yeah, I'm sorry things aren't working for you right now if you don't have OpenGL 3.2. They should be at some point in the future once we get Angle going, though. That would also be, if anyone wants to tinker with that and help me get Angle up and running, like that, that could be I don't know, if you're feeling ambitious, that could be something I could use help with. I'd accept PRs or whatever. But basically, yeah, we just want to, I think the plan is to replace just regular OpenGL with Angle OpenGL, at least on Windows. And I think that would really improve compatibility. Like anyone who's having those, OpenGL 3.2 not found issues and stuff, I think it should work for them. YPC version doesn't support Arabic language. That's yet another thing on my to-do list. So the way the game works now is for drawing Unicode text, like anything that's not plain Roman characters or whatever. Well, you can see actually if you go into assets, textures, at some point here is the font stuff. So like the built-in font. Oh yeah, font small. So if you go through here, you can see font small 0. It's a lot of just regular old Latin characters and a few extra ones. So basically this is like the first few hundred characters in Unicode, which gets you basically like, yeah, English and languages like that, and then like Russian or like Cyrillic. But it doesn't include extra stuff, it's not like, Chinese or Japanese or Arabic or kind of extended things. For that, we need to basically go through the operating system. So we have to ask the OS like, hey, render this text for me, because I don't have a texture for that. I looked into it, and actually storing textures for all Unicode would be like 5 gigabytes or, extremely prohibitive. So anyway, we have to ask the OS for that, which means that has to be written specifically for the OS. So I've written implementations of that for Apple OS, so for like Mac and iOS when it comes out, and also for Android. I still need to do that for Windows though, so that's another little to-do list thing. My plan is to definitely get that done before I release on Steam, so that's one of those like definitely needs to be done things. It's just I haven't had time for that yet, or I haven't slotted that in. That is also probably a few days of work, I'm guessing. I guess in a way it would be nice I could just hire a team or whatever, but as I've mentioned before, like I feel like there's definitely upsides of not having to, have the game provide enough income to support a team and all that. I don't have to lean as much on monetization and things. But it also makes things slow. So anyway, yeah, that's another case where it's a few days of work probably that I need to do to get the Windows version on par with Android and Mac. Just haven't done it yet. Whoa. Improve the resolution to 2.5K, or are you... Is this a serious comment, or are you joking? Like, is the game not able to run at full resolution on your phone? Or it's been so long since I touched that code. like I thought on Android at least it would take advantage of full screen resolutions, though it can draw smaller. What? Oh gosh. Oh no. Oh, you can't connect. Oh, to the stream? That's a bummer. I guess you can't hear me now. Shoot. Woohoo! Yeah, I'm happy to hear. Yeah, people are liking it in South America. Let me see where people are playing at the moment. Do a little submarine test as we do. So fleets. So at the moment, I mean, yeah, things haven't changed too much. You can see India is popular. There's always a lot in South America. It's a little bit less popular of a time of the day right now. A lot in Mexico. No one here in the U.S. My home team doesn't like me. I mentioned before, I think this is because there's no iOS version, and iOS is very popular in the U.S. I think it's like 60% or 55 or something. So there's at some point, once I get iOS out, maybe my home country will start playing my game more. But I'm happy with other parts of the world playing it. It's cool. Scattered, pretty good scattering through here. It's kind of like starting to be more in Africa. It used to be like a year or two ago, it was like one dot in Africa. So there's, especially up here, there's some folks playing. Oh my gosh. Yes, I love it. That's actually, I don't know if I have it handy, but for Halloween a few years ago, I was Bob Ross. If you're all familiar with Bob Ross, the most awesome person in the world, or used to be. Sadly, he passed, but in case you don't know, I will. Bob Ross. So yeah, the painter dude. So yeah, I was Bob Ross for Halloween. So I was actually, my fro was a little less fabulous than this, maybe like half as fabulous, but it was pretty cool. Who is verifying age in V2s? What? There should not be any. There's no, yeah, the game itself doesn't have any age verification or anything like that. So if, I mean, V2 accounts, like all V2 means is just means like the account tech is more secure, really. So with V1 accounts, it was, as probably all of you know, you can like spoof someone's account by stealing like a file, like a UUID. So basically like a string value. You just like steal that bit of text from them, and then you are them. So with V2, it's more secure. Like it piggybacks off of, like your Google Play account. It'll like securely talk to the server and make sure that's you are actually that person before it lets you use the account, stuff like that. Or if you just go through like the email password account on the website, at least it does that in a secure way. So if you come in here and, well, I don't want to sign out, but let me bust out another browser. If Chrome launches. So, oh geez, I'm signed up. Just signed in everywhere. Let's try Firefox. Okay, anyway, yeah. So if you sign up for an email password account on ballistica.net and you sign in this way, it does that as securely as, I think it's a pretty secure implementation. So you can also enable two-factor authentication and stuff like that, which I would recommend if you have an account that someone might want to steal or something. For that, it's account settings. Where is it? Yeah, two-factor auth. So that'll send you an email when you're signing in from a new place, stuff like that. So anyway, as far as I know, V2 accounts are pretty secure. Unlike V1 accounts. So that's why it's been this like years long process to finally move everything to be using the V2 account stuff. And so like V1 accounts still exist. When you're signed in with a V2 account, it actually has a V1 account like attached to it. And that's kind of why the V1 accounts are still around. Like when you're, submitting high scores or joining servers, it's using that V1 account. And that's the part I'm trying to get rid of. Is I'm trying to make it use the V2 portion and not the V1 portion. Will V2 auth have support with Google Authenticator? People have asked about this. My thought is it hasn't been a priority for me just because I do want it to support. I mean, it does support Google Play game services, which your Google account obviously supports authenticators and all that stuff. So if you're signing in with Google Play Games, then you should have all the fancy authentication options. I could add them for, there's certain things I could add just for the built-in sign-in stuff. Let me go back here. One thing would be, authenticator support, or like passkey support. Like, that's another big, cool new bit of tech. It's all just like, to me, those are all like side quests that are like less priority, so I'm trying to like not do stuff like that just because it slows me down on the main things. But again, if that's something that you would like, please keep poking occasionally. This topic has come up. I wonder like if there would be a good way to like maintain a list of things that like most wanted features or things like that. I'm just kind of doing it manually here by like listening to what you guys are saying and trying to keep that in mind. So this, like I said, this problem should be gone very, very soon. So I apologize it's taken that long. But yeah, at this point, there's still a few things that'll use V1 accounts, so there's still a few things that'll be spoofable. Like right now, high score lists and stuff. I think you can still like just, not to give anyone ideas, but you can basically pretend to be someone else when you're submitting a high score. In a lot of cases, that's like, why would you do that? You're like making someone else look good. But people have had reasons. But yeah, at least at this point, all the account stuff within the game should be V2. At this point, joining games will be V2. So there should be very little left that is vulnerable. One thing, more than 20. One thing to keep in mind, if you have a server that has been having spoofing problems, to prepare for this new update, like you may want to just make sure you're running the latest build. I know for some people that have still been using like 1.6 builds or like early 1.7, like that might be a bit of work, just like updating your scripts, but it's probably worth doing if you want to get rid of the spoofing thing. Just come grab the latest. What are we on? 1761, I think now. So yeah, if you grab the latest from downloads, 1761 server build, get your server working with that. If you can get to that point, then it should be basically like flipping a switch almost to once V2 authentication is ready. So just a heads up is a good way to prepare. Any new content plans soon? Yes, that is. Honestly, I do want to add a few more characters and maps and things like that soon. A lot of that'll come after 1.8, but there's things before 1.8 I would like to do too. I have been yet another side quest is I've been learning Blender. If any of you know, I built all the original game stuff in Maya. Maya is a very old, very expensive 3D app. We used it at Pixar for a lot of things. The industry is still, animation industry and probably games industry still uses it a lot. But it's very old, and licenses are pricey. And so for a community like Bomb Squad, it definitely makes more sense to be Blender centric. And I finally actually learned some Blender over Christmas, I think, and man, I love it. It's like Blender just feels so clean compared to Maya, which, I mean, it makes sense. I think they redid the UI a few versions back and just kind of made it nice and simple, or not simple. I mean, it's still a very complicated app, but to me, compared to Maya, it just feels so clean. Maya just has like layers and layers of like 30-year-old stuff that's just like been building up, and to their credit, like Maya works pretty well still, but it's just like there's so much history there. Blender just feels nice and clean, and the fact that it's free is wonderful. So another thing at the top of my list is to get some tools built for Blender. I started kind of tinkering with that. So basically getting like all of my pipeline stuff, like how I build characters, getting that working in Blender instead of Maya. And so that's something I could share with everyone. It'll just be added to the public repo, and also integrated with workspaces, which will be super cool. So anyway, that's something else I want to do soon. That's kind of a side quest. I don't know if that'll be before 1.8 or after. But yeah, so stay tuned for some fun Blender stuff. Hopefully we can have like a Coffee with Eric Blender Day or something like that. Um, but yeah, that's another reason why I'd love to get that pipeline working and then build a few characters with it, just because I haven't built a character myself in a while. I was super happy Sock built Betty for us. That was super awesome. But yeah, I want to have some fun too. And then yeah, my hope is once 1.8 is finally out, it'll be a lot easier to add characters, and it should be easier for everyone to make characters. So I'm hoping to the store can be some stuff from the community and then some stuff from me, and we'll find some sort of fun balance there. As I mentioned before, it will be we'll have to come up with some sort of system for like what gets approved or what is allowed to be on the store or whatever. Obviously can't have like copyrighted stuff, things like that. So we'll come up with something though. But as I mentioned, my overall plan there is I want you to be able to build whatever the heck you want in the game and somehow like share it amongst like friend groups or whatever. So maybe it'll be like you designate like a dev team or like your friend group or something, and then they can see the stuff you've built. But in order to get it like fully public to where like the world could see it, it would need to just like get some sort of approval, just so I know I'm not going to get sued. Cancel BS remix. Wait, what is that? What? Oh, that's another. In general, yeah, Mr. Loop did the Discord integration for us. I still got to finish that up too. There's so much to do for this game. Oh no, a Blender hater. I mean, I'm not. Let's see. Why would you hate? It feels like piloting an airplane. Oh, you mean like it feels too complicated, or like what is? I haven't actually. I've like made some test models in it. I haven't actually used it for like an extended period, whereas I've used Maya for like probably thousands of hours at this point. So I don't fully have an appreciation for its pluses and minuses, but in general, like I think 3D apps are always going to be kind of crazy complicated. Add the Moose Man. Just doing cosplay. We'll donate you roses. What? Idea, as we open BS, there should be a global chat and lobby with players. So this topic came up before, like the idea of a global chat. And on the surface, like to me, that sounds super cool. But I was reading an article about some game that like ripped global chat out because they just found it was too hard to moderate. Like there were like toxicity issues and things like that popped up a lot, or harassment and stuff. So that, I don't know, that got my attention and made me think like maybe the best route is to try to integrate as well as possible with Discord and things like that, or Twitch or whatever other like tools or systems gamers use. Just because the whole purpose of things like Discord is the moderation aspects, building servers and having moderators and managing all that stuff. So it does make me think like if the game tried to do that itself, that might just be kind of wasting time or reinventing the wheel a little bit, Just a thought. I mean, I'm not necessarily against the idea if people like that, but to me, it kind of seems like it'd be great to have people kind of organize, having Discord servers like this one or other ones. There could be big kind of official-ish Bomb Squad Discord servers, but just leaving more of like global chat or community type stuff, to separate systems. Anyway, happy to keep talking about or discussing that topic, but just wanted to mention that I heard that global chat is not always a good thing. Okay, now it's getting weird. I'm like, ooh, look at that. I'm kind of hot. Oh, geez. Oh, you guys. Are we getting any updates to public parties? Yes. So at the top of my list, I recently switched it. Like right now, I'm adding V2 authentication to the existing public party list. My plan up to like a few weeks ago was I was just going to revamp the public party list and then add V2 authentication. Because the V2 or revamp the public party list. Because the public party list is glitchy and it's huge. it's not good. I mean, it's fine, but it. Whoa. I also need a slider control for volume. That's another thing that we were discussing lately. But so yeah, the old public party list here, it is super inefficient in that it sends like the entire world full of public parties to like everybody who views the list, which is actually a lot of data. So that's one thing that needs to be a lot more efficient. Like, so yeah, my plan is still to revamp the public party list with something more secure and faster and simpler, with some concept of like regions. So it'll just show you stuff that's like in your region, or nearby you. You can override your region to like go to different places or whatever, but that should make it a lot more efficient versus having this crazy giant list of hundreds and hundreds of games. I mean, it's kind of cool that like there's this many games out there or servers, but yeah, this is just a very inefficient way to browse them. So anyway, because the spoofing thing became kind of, I was getting a lot of feedback on the spoofing thing. I'm addressing that first, and then I want to revamp the server list, but I still definitely want to revamp the server list. So yeah, long story long, yeah, server list revamp is way up there at the top of the list. There's also the new list there will probably be something like a link to the old list, like see legacy servers or something like that. But there probably will be some limitations on the new server list. Like you might have, one thing I've discussed before is I would like servers to be a bit more permanent. Like a server can have like a reputation, or you can leave ratings or positive or negative feedback or whatever. If a server is like new and doesn't have a reputation, it would probably be at the bottom of the list or something like that. So just trying to build up this idea of being able to have kind of curate the list of servers so the ones that people really like show up first, stuff like that, as opposed to just being a big flat scary list. So yeah, there's a bunch of ideas for the new server list. If any of you guys have thoughts on it, post them here or in dev discussion or whatever. What do you think of using AI on something about Bomb Squad? Oh, that is certainly an interesting topic. I feel like I've been like following the AI thing very curiously, and I as well as everyone, not to go off on an AI tangent, but yeah, it's interesting to see the gaming community is like there's this kind of backlash against AI, but which I sort of somewhat agree with in terms of like, if you have a game that is nothing but like AI slop generated everything, like that sucks. At the same point, I feel like there are like acceptable uses of AI, and the community is kind of deciding what those are to a degree. Like I feel like nobody is backlashing against AI generated code. Like if you play a game, you're like, oh, I feel like this has an AI generated for loop in it somewhere. This is disgusting. So like that's okay. Certain things that like I've been playing with is like using AI for like up-resing textures and things like that. Like if we take some of the, these crappy like low-res textures we've had in the game for like the Boxer achievement, like AI can make this look a lot shinier and a little more clay-like, stuff like that. To me, stuff like that, it seems okay. It's just like using it to plus things out. What seems not okay is using it to just like generate something completely. Do you guys agree on that? Or like where would you guys draw the line on like what AI is bad and what AI is good? Oh geez, now I'm oh geez. But yeah, this is the interesting thing with that topic. You might get canceled with what you say. It's I'm not trying to be controversial or anything. It's more just like it's an interesting to see where this stuff evolves. But yeah, personally, I feel that AI generated code, I have no real problems with that, I think. Even though maybe that's putting real coders out of jobs. I don't know. in some places. But yeah, using AI for like texture generation, like details and upresing and certain things like that. Like I said, where it's not like creating fresh artwork. It's just, making something look more clay-like or whatever. I think that's a really cool application of the tech personally. So yeah. Yeah, this has even come up, like never generate AI images unless it's to use as reference. There were some, I mean, obviously this has been a big thing in the community, like the gaming community lately. There was some game that got like kind of canceled or something because they found like an AI, or it got like removed, or yeah, it won an award. They got the award removed or something like that, or rescinded, or nominated for something. They got the nomination rescinded because there was some image in there that was AI generated. And it may or may not have been like a placeholder that they forgot to replace or something like that. So yeah, interesting news. But then those same companies, they say, like some of them have come out and said like, oh, we only use AI for reference. But then I almost think like in a way, is that any better? Because it's like I feel like sometimes coming up with the designs is the hard part. And so if you're letting AI do that part, like you're replacing a human just as much as if you let the AI spit out the final image. I don't know. Like I said, interesting topic. I don't want to like get off too much on that tangent, but adding more characters, yes, definitely. Going to add some. I'd probably say like adding a new character or two. It's somewhere in the in the top few items on the list. We need to get that wheel rolling again. Get more characters in there, especially now that the new store is in there. It's a lot easier to add new characters. 1.8 will make it super easy to add new characters. So. Longest trivia bot? Longest concert. I want to know that. 400 hours? What? That's crazy. Oh yeah, that's true. And then yeah, there's that argument too of like, what is the definition of AI? Like, yeah, is NPC AI considered AI? Is it only generative AI is AI now? Like, what is AI? That's where I feel like I come down a little bit on the side of AI, where saying like we're kind of hypocritical in that like we allow replacing programmer jobs with AI, but if you're doing something that would replace an artist job with AI, we're very standing up against that. It's like, why don't we stand up against the programmer case too? I'm totally against AI slop, by the way. I'm not trying to like argue for that or anything. Like I hate going on Facebook and just seeing those like ridiculous AI slop videos of something that's obviously fake. And there's a bunch of reactions on there that are like, wow, this is amazing. And maybe those reactions are all AI too. Who knows? It's like dead internet theory, if you're familiar with that, where it's a bunch of AIs out there interacting with other AIs. So yeah, AI, it does mean artificial intelligence. It's just like in the common nomenclature, I feel like the term AI currently refers to like this new generation of AI. Even though Pong is AI, we aren't, people are talking about the rise of AI. We'll be like, AI has been around for 40 years. Have you played Pong? It's like, you know what we mean when we say AI. So just one of those, yeah. I understand technically, yeah, everything is AI. I guess we could all refer to like generative AI. There's probably like a proper technical term for what we're discussing, like with this, this new era of AI, how that differs from like old school AI, but it's still, we just call it AI. I'm trying to think of other cases like that where there's a term that kind of comes to mean something else, and some people are like, like, no, it means this old thing. So yeah. More merch at Bomb Squad. Bomb Squad plushies. I'm still in search for a perfect plushie dealer, or somehow got to get plushies made. Remove bots from. On that topic, I remember at some point someone made some crazy trained AI bots. Are those still around? What happened to those? I thought that was kind of a cool concept, just to like see how good bots could get if they were trained, became self-aware, take over the world, all that stuff. Oh no, AI is taking over the chat. Oh, Gemini versus ChatGPT. That is actually on that slightly interesting note. I did, so I demoed this a while back, but another use of AI that I'm okay with is, where is it? SS testing is translations. So I thought for translating mundane stuff, like if I need a word for carrots, AI is great at that. It can give me the word for carrots in like every language out there. So this new system I'm building for kind of auto-translating stuff, it does use AI. And at some point, let's do English only. I had it using ChatGPT, but I feel like I've been reading like doom and gloom articles lately about like OpenAI saying like, oh, they're struggling to find funding and like they might be in trouble within a year or something. And big things too, like Apple, like for the next generation of Siri, they're going with like Gemini for their foundation and stuff like that. So I wound up, I made my little auto translator thing. It now uses Gemini instead of ChatGPT. So that's, you can see like, here's the debug info. Reasoning effort high, 2.9 seconds. Oh yeah, Gemini 3 flash preview. So you can see if you're using asset package language translation at some point, you'll be using Gemini instead of ChatGPT. I still have a switch I can flip to use ChatGPT instead. But I just thought in this case, maybe Google is not a bad bet, if it might be more stable over time. I use ChatGPT all the time. I freaking love it just for like asking programming questions. I feel like it's the best, like as long as you're aware that it makes stupid mistakes and stuff, I feel like it's just a really great resource for like learning about programming stuff. I do less of like letting it write code for me. It's more just, I feel like there's a balance there where like, hey, show me a function that would do this, and then like use that either as reference or clean it up. I kind of feel like you get into trouble if you let the thing just write all of your code and then don't even look at it, To me, it seems like it might work out of the box, but it seems like that's going to be unmaintainable later. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the sense I get from people who are just like really leaning into the vibe coding stuff, is that like it'll help you put something together really fast, but then you have no idea how it works and you won't be able to fix it later. So, okay, all right, I need to stop talking about it. AI stuff. As interesting as the topic is, I feel like it's kind of like the recent cultural thing that's happening. It's like the big thing going on in the world today. For a while, I feel like it was like, mobile devices were changing the world. Originally, like the internet changed the world, and I feel like, the smartphone changed the world. Now I kind of feel like there's a little bit of a period where AI is kind of changing the world. But yeah, if anyone, we need to find, back to the important topic, which is plushies. So yeah, if anyone can learn how I can get plushies made and sent like everywhere in the world, that's an important thing. I would be very interested. What are you currently working on? So, well, if you missed it earlier, I'm currently working on V2 authentication. That is like #1 at the top of my list. So that as of once that is done in the next, I really think I should have a build of it out by tomorrow. Friday at the latest, but I think tomorrow. But once that's done, you'll be able to basically verify people's V2 accounts when they connect to your server, and it should be pretty much foolproof. Unlike the V1 authentication stuff, which is very spoofable at this point. People have like cracked that wide open. So anyway, yeah, if anyone's running a server, I would highly suggest upgrade to the latest stuff when that's ready in a day or two. And if your player base is okay upgrading too, because unfortunately everyone will need the latest version of the game in order to support that authentication, because they have to the game has to send something to the master server, be like, hey, master server, send my send my credentials over to the game. Like, tell them that it's really me. That's basically what's happening. But the game needs to be updated to do that. So unfortunately, that means like the server needs to be the latest version. And if you're flipped to the latest protocol to enable that V2 auth stuff, then all the clients need to be the latest version too. Not necessarily ideal, but it is what it is. So servers that are having a problem with spoofing, hopefully that's an acceptable burden. Just like tell all of your users to get up to date. I'll leave V2 authentication off by default for a while until like most of the community has that new build, and then I might maybe I'll make like my public servers use it, stuff like that. There's going to be some gates coming up also. Like once 1.8 is out, that's going to be a big gate like that where, you know, in order to join a 1.8 server with like asset packs and stuff, you're going to need to be running 1.8. So we're going to have a few little gates coming up where we need to kind of gently prompt people to upgrade. Hopefully that won't be too much friction. Add new bombs in the near future. Would love to do that. That's not as close on the list. I mean, modders doing all that kind of stuff a lot. For me, I think new bombs would probably happen about during squads mode, because squads mode is going to kind of affect gameplay quite a bit. And so that at that point, I imagine I would be in there digging around and redoing, maybe adding more power-ups and things. But yeah, I would say that's not super close on the radar. I wanted to ask you, the influence you got to create a game that has bombs in it anytime you're No, there was nothing serious. It was the game originally started as influenced by Bomberman. If anyone's played Bomberman, some people still like call Bomb Squad a Bomberman clone, which I feel like superficially maybe, but I feel like it's a very different thing at this point. But originally, yeah, Bomb Squad started as a weekend project to make like a Bomberman clone. It quickly went off the rails, and I started adding the physics and all this crazy stuff. So it quickly went a different direction. But yeah, I loved at the time. I was a wee young lad. I was like 24, finishing up art school here in San Francisco and living with a few roommates, and we loved playing Bomberman. We played Atomic Bomberman on PC. That was our one. So yeah, yeah, that's originally where the inspiration came from, is playing Atomic Bomberman with my roommates. But then I also, at the time, was playing a ton of like Halo. We'd had like OG Halo way back in the day. We'd have a ton of friends over and hook up like 4 TVs, get big like 16-player Halo games going. So capture the flag and all the different game types. So that was kind of a big inspiration too. Just wanting to make a game that sort of had some of those vibes, the team-based stuff. Something I could play at those like gatherings between rounds of Halo. We'd have like 8 or 10 people hanging around, so just throw something up on the TV and just kind of mess around with them. So that's really that combination of things. That was the kind of the origin of Bomb Squad. Oh, this is another kind of interesting story. Why does Bomb Squad have Python support in the first place? At the time, I was finishing art school, as I said, and I was looking for jobs in the visual effects industry, kind of animation, visual effects, movies, stuff like that. And Python was and still is kind of just a very prominent language in all of like visual effects tools and things, and just a good thing to know. So in a way, I used Bomb Squad as an excuse to learn some Python. I think that was largely why I added Python to it. I think I was just starting to learn Python. Wanted to have a way to mess around with it, and if you ever want to learn something well, just like make a game out of it. I did learn that is a good, effective technique. There's still some design decisions that I'm to this day paying for, because I was adding Python to the game before I really knew how Python worked, or like I wasn't very experienced with Python, so there were certain things where I was just doing it in like a ignorant way. Like you'd pass a string that would get evaluated, and then it would run that Python code, stuff like that, which is like, the game really doesn't do that much anymore, or that type stuff. But at the beginning, it was very heavy on that, just like evaluating strings, and it was like, ugh. I remember I was looking at Lua at some point, thinking like, oh, maybe that would be more lightweight. But that was also years and years ago. At this point, I feel like lightweight isn't as important. Like mobile devices and everything are pretty beefy. I don't know. I mean, I admittedly, I'm testing the game on kind of somewhat beefy devices. Like my Mac here is it's an M4 Max, so it's pretty speedy. My test phone is, I mean, my test phone, I'm sure, my main Android test phone right now is Pixel 7a, I guess, which, I mean, it's so much faster than like whatever I started coding this on. So I feel like, go back to Lua, I feel like the main reason I would have wanted to go with Lua is speed, but I kind of feel like that's less important now. Do any of you guys does Bomb Squad chug for you guys, or does anyone have like performance issues with Bomb Squad on your phones? I'm just curious. I know at some point, it'd be fun to like add slightly fancier physics and stuff. So I'm just curious if we're at the point where even like low end stuff handles the game just fine, or if performance is still something to consider. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. I mean, I know it's like there's been a lot more Python added, so I know the game is doing more work than it used to. Like the physics and all that stuff haven't changed all that much, so that's probably still pretty lightweight. But in terms of like it's running lots of Python stuff in the background. What is this? Oh my god. My eyes are like moving around my head. I love it. I'm like a different person there. There's like, if I pop, that sort of looks like, that's like Disney version of me or something. I love this. This eye is just like glitching out. Oh geez, I'm gonna have nightmares about that. Thank you very much. Lua. I was, at some point I was thinking about like using Lua for very limited uses, like defining materials or something, stuff that would actually have to happen like on the client, where like you would define the code on the server and it would run on the client. So I thought maybe something like Lua would let us like sandbox that and make it safe to do. I didn't go through with that though. So like you'll notice if you're writing a material in a mod, like it's such an ugly syntax. It's like nested tuples, which it's basically like simple code. It's like saying like if this material hits this material, then make this sound, or if this material hits this material, then set friction to 0 or whatever. But like we can't actually define that with Python code because materials get sent to every player in the game. And if you were like sending arbitrary Python code to a client and then running it on that client, like obviously that's going to end really badly. Some like nefarious server is going to be mining Bitcoin on all the clients. Though I had looked into that more, like there might be a way to convert some like limited Python bit code into something a client could run. I don't know. That's still an idea at the back of my mind. It'd be super cool to be able to run like define things like materials just with a little Python function, like just to express it more clearly, like if this is material A and that is material B, then set friction to 0. Oh man, Roadmap Siegel has been showing up a lot. I'm happy to like clarify roadmap stuff, but yeah, Roadmap Siegel is pretty good at it too. Yeah, this old map, this comes up a lot. This is like the original map before I tweaked it. It does look prettier. This is more like how it was actually built. I think I might still have this chunk of clay lying around, though it's probably like smashed a little bit. The reason I kind of flattened it out though was because this was just hard to navigate, like going up this ramp and going over here. It was like bumpy. It just felt hard to control. A little bit like Doomshroom. If you're running around on Doomshroom, I feel like there's always this kind of lumpiness to it, and it feels a little bit hard to, I don't know, like predict your guy's motion or something. I feel like in a way, like geometrically simple things are a little bit more fun to run around on, just because they're predictable. So that's why I wound up kind of doing a flattened pass on it and making it look a little bit more boring. What if you created Bomb Squad using Renderware engine, 3D engine used to make game back in 2004? I mean, that's an interesting what if. would there be, I don't know, would there be an upside to that, or not to knock on the engine? I'm sure that Unreal Engine in 2004 did a lot of stuff Bomb Squad doesn't, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me to adopt anything, I would want to know the upside going in. Or what if, or are you saying like what if you had created it? Like, I don't know. That's a good question. That's an interesting little scenario to run through in my head. Like if I'd implemented Bomb Squad in some engine. Well, I don't know the renderer engine. Is the renderer engine like completely gone at this point or obsolete, or is it still out there? It's like supported? What if I ported Bomb Squad to my refrigerator? But that does go into the topic of like game engines and stuff. Like, what if Bomb Squad was written on a game engine that no longer is supported? Like, would that have killed Bomb Squad? Or you could ask the same question now. I know people ask like, what if you ported Bomb Squad to Unreal or something like that? And I'm sure there'd be some upsides to that too. And I don't think Unreal is going anywhere. It's more just like, it makes you wonder like what downsides can happen. Like if you port it to like an old version of Unreal, but then you don't update it for like newer versions of Unreal, at some point that old version of Unreal is going to stop being supported or something like that. So whereas my janky old engine, I can keep that thing working as long as I want. I guess at some point OpenGL could be deprecated, or OpenGL already is deprecated on like Apple platforms. And it's not well supported on Windows either, but I think it'll remain supported in some fashion for a long time, like the basic things we're using, especially if we get Angle going, like the Angle OpenGL layer. I'm kind of excited about that, actually. I think because Angle is it seems like a very maintained, well-supported project. So if it means like I can just make the OpenGL renderer, I can like pimp out that renderer and I don't have to worry about like writing 3 more renderers, like that's great. Then it can just run like everywhere on Windows under DirectX and whatever. Oh God. Oh no. I love it. I love that people do these like crazy stress tests. I need to put more like logging in there just to see like which parts of the games break when people do that, just so I know. But it is kind of cool to see, people are pushing things. Make a video explaining how to set up a Bomb Squad server in a VPS. What's a VPS? Should I know? I probably should know that term. I am not, I'm probably not one to do that in terms of like, probably not a super high priority for me. I do feel bad that there's not a ton of like clear official documentation on here's how to set up a server sort of thing. But that kind of goes back to like where my ultimate goal is squads mode, to where like setting up a server should not be a necessity for people, to where like I want to put any extra time I have in moving towards squads mode. Oh, virtual private network, or wait, yeah, VP, it was VP something else, VPS? VPN, I know that. Yeah. Want to know about Bomb Squad on VR? Oh, so there was, or technically is. I pulled it off of the Oculus store at some point recently because Meta was like nagging me about needing to update something, and I just didn't have time. And like no one really plays that version anyway because nobody has like the old. I guess some people probably do, like the old PC-based Oculus setup. But yeah, for a while there were some VR versions of Bomb Squad around, which were kind of cool. I would definitely love to revisit that, but I've decided I think it would be smart to revisit it in a different way. Like the problem with making a VR version of Bomb Squad is most people are playing, where you see the action from one angle and you don't have to worry about what's behind you or anything like that. So it was kind of a lot of work to fill in the rest of the space, make it so you can turn around completely and stuff like that. And also anyone making like a modded map or whatever, like nobody is going to do that. No one's going to like fill in the rest of the space. So I would definitely, if I were revisiting the VR Bomb Squad, I would want to make it a bit smarter in that, I don't know, maybe it's like you play on a floating screen where you can see everything in 3D, but you're actually only seeing like the normal game area, stuff like that. I don't know. I'd have to think about it a bit. Or like an AR version. I know we've talked about that where like, let's say a completely different thing like built on Bomb Squad stuff where you're like playing on a tabletop or something like that. Like that could be cool too. But yeah, I don't know if I will be resurrecting like the existing VR version where it's like the full game but in VR. Just like I said, because I feel like that's not going to be maintainable, especially if we're getting into like user generated maps and things like that going forward. Sorry, reading this paragraph here. So yeah, this is very true about different languages having different kind of performance metrics and things. Like Rust seems like the cool new shiny language that runs really fast, which is weird. I was reading about like why is Rust so fast, and it's not necessarily that it doesn't like write faster code necessarily than C or C++. It just makes it like easier to write faster code, I guess. Like getting rid of data races and things like that, or just making multi-threading more accessible, stuff like that. But yeah, it's, for me, even working in visual effects back in the day, there was this definite like 2-layer thing where like Python gets used for all the high level stuff, but Python is not fast, so you don't want to use Python for low level stuff. That's why things like, even within Python, there's stuff like NumPy, however you want to say it. Like these frameworks for dealing with like large amounts of data, like fast. Like you don't want to do that in Python. You don't want a big for loop that goes through like a giant array of data and does something with it, because it's going to run really slow. Like Python has a lot of flexibility, but the trade-off for that is that it's not the fastest language. So that's why like in Ballistica or in Bomb Squad, anything that needs to be fast happens in C++. Anything that needs to be flexible or doesn't need to be fast, because I feel like it's easier to write code in Python. It's being more flexible. That can all be higher level. So it's this interesting thing of like having these 2 levels and trying to make the right use of them. In some cases, there's more levels. Like obviously, if you're doing graphics and stuff like that, and you want some crazy thing to happen on screen, then you go down a level to like GPU. I mean, the GPU is like crazy fast at drawing bajillions and bajillions of pixels. Like if you try to do that on the CPU with C++, even though that's faster than Python, it still would be ridiculously slower. So it's at that point, it's almost like 3 levels. So there's the Python for like easy to write high level stuff that's flexible but slow. C++ for like low level CPU stuff that's fast but less flexible. And then GPU stuff when you need it just like insanely fast, but it's going to be probably harder to write than like even C++. So yeah, it's fun to think about, those different layers. Like Lua would be like faster than Python, I think. Lua would probably be like somewhere between C++ and Python, I guess. But it is funny, like, just talking about like languages and stuff like that. It's funny how I feel like in some cases the speed of a language doesn't come into play as often as you'd think it would. Even like writing C++ code or Python code or whatever, like if you profile it, it always comes down to like there's like 2 or 3 places where 90% of your time is being spent. So it's like even if you're writing it all in Python and you find those 2 or 3 places that are like the bottlenecks and you just optimize those 2 or 3 places, it's going to be way faster, as opposed to like rewriting all of that Python code in C++. Those bottlenecks might still be slow. Who knows? Okay. Yeah. Again, I haven't played with Lua, so I don't have a direct basis for comparison. One thing I've really loved with Python over the past few years, I know I've wasted a lot of time on it, is getting everything, adding type annotations to everything, so just making it basically type safe. Just for maintaining a large project, it has been like a lifesaver. Compared to like thinking about 1.4, if I would change anything in Python code, I would find out 2 months later when it broke, in the middle of a game or something like that. But now I can feel, I mean, stuff still breaks, but I can feel pretty confident about throwing a function into a different module or renaming something, and the type checker tells me exactly like what I need to update to keep everything working. And most of the time it does stay working. So I freaking love type checking. So that, yeah, I was curious, like, one thing with something like Lua, does Lua have a high, like, type checking and stuff like that? For me, that's become more important. Not knocking on Lua or anything like that. And maybe it does have all that stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I would say for me, that would be a downside of like older Python or other languages that are, you know, maybe flexible and maybe fast, but if they're not as type safe or something. Oh, they're the roundabout map, or the flags have been moved a little bit in roundabout. Have you guys been noticing that? Has that helped? Sock submitted a fix for that a while back, and I finally got it pulled in. It should be like the flags are basically in the middle. The flags used to be on the insides of the platforms. Now they're basically in the middle. So are you saying it's still working? Are you saying the flags that you're seeing are still on the insides of the platforms, or is someone able to actually throw them far enough to get to the middle? But yeah, depending on the servers you're playing on, maybe the servers aren't updated yet. I think my public ones should be, so all the ones with the boring names, just like US West 1 or whatever. Yeah, if you throw your teammate, I think the flag fix was kind of a band-aid. It wasn't considered like a full fix, so it was like an improvement but not perfect kind of thing. I think we would have to I'd probably have to redo the map, make that wider, or add some sort of force field thing or something in the middle. I think that has been done. I know I've seen people do it. Campaign maps with online friends. You should be able to, like, if you invite them to your party and then just start one of those campaigns. Yeah. You can't, let's see. Oh, are you talking about like using the private party stuff? Ooh, yeah, I think, I don't actually know that for sure. I think someone added campaigns for private parties. I haven't tried those though lately. So I'm probably not a good person to ask. Well, yeah, so these are the old locations. So this is the non-updated one. So this flag should be here. This flag should be here. So whatever server that is or version, that should still be the old. API 6. Oh man, back in the day. So yeah, with private party, private party, sorry, private party, I'm not sure how that one works. If there's something there that seems like it's bugging, or, you know, we can improve it, holler and maybe we can do that. Can you add gambling to Bomb Squad? Well, some people say we already kind of have that in a way with, you know, chests and stuff. It is, you know, gambling but not gambling. You're not like, it's not real money. I don't know. And you can't, I don't want, that's another weird like fuzzy line talking about like what is sleazy free to play mechanics or whatever. You know, I don't want you to be able to like buy chests. To me, like I feel like that gets a little sleazy free to play is when you can like buy chests and you just keep buying them and then you finally get something good. I feel like that's kind of like, eh. But I feel like earning chests for gameplay and then like opening those, I don't know. To me, that's fun gambling. You know, it's a little bit of a game of chance. It's like a random drop, you know, when you're playing Diablo and you kill some critter and then he drops something. It's like, that's kind of gambling in a way. You're not pulling a slot machine arm, you're killing a zombie, but at the same point, something drops out of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, with all that, I don't know, I'm trying to be honest and open on stuff. I'm not, I know they're, I want to be, if y'all are aware of any regulations the game is, needs to be updated for or something. I know some places in Europe there was something like if you have gotcha boxes, like you have to have the odds listed for like what you can get out of the box, stuff like that. I don't know if I don't know if our treasure chests would qualify as that since you can't buy them. I imagine that might be just something for like purchasable boxes have to have like odds listed. But at the same point, even, I did list the odds in Bomb Squad. It shows like what you're likely to get. 67% chance you'll get this, 33 you'll get that or whatever. So hopefully, there's if there are any sort of, regulations, hopefully we're on the right side of those. If you see anything that it looks like we're not, please holler. What happened to Metaverse? I think Zuckerberg gave up on that, so now it's up to us. We have to make the Metaverse. Apparently, it seems like maybe it wasn't profitable. That whole like Metaverse thing, like in a way, I don't know, there's that part of me that sort of empathizes. It seemed like Mark Zuckerberg was like really into that concept, which is partly why, he bought Oculus and he made this big VR push and stuff like that. And I'm curious, like, if there's that part of him that was doing that for the right reason, like really just as a geek, just wanted to have this like matrixy world that people could live in. And so I can like respect that. And, I'd love to like make that in a tiny way with like squads mode, just make like, or supporting servers, make people have their own little worlds that they make and then people can spend time in each other's worlds. It's not like VR and stuff, but it's still just like, online communities. I feel like it's kind of what the metaverse was all about in the end. So I don't know. In a way, I see the metaverse as like a noble ideal to try to achieve. Well, still thinking the metaverse. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of become a joke at this point, the whole metaverse idea of just like this VR place you go and hang out with your friends. I still love VR and AR and all that stuff, but it does seem like so much barriers to entry. Just like the fact of putting on a VR headset, no matter how lightweight and easy it is, it's still just like it seems like most people are too, like I'm too lazy to do that most of the time. It's almost like 3D movies. I feel like when I go to a movie, I don't really, 3D is kind of cool, but it's almost not worth the hassle of like dealing with the glasses. Where I sort of feel the same about like the metaverse concepts is like, yeah, we all want to, interact online with friends and play games and this and that, but like, I don't know if any of us want to like put on a headset and stand up from our comfy couch, stuff like that. To where I think the concepts of it might live on, just like interconnected worlds or whatever. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I would agree that in a way I'm a little bit sad. It kind of seems like Meta is scaling back their metaverse. I mean, they renamed themselves based on the concept. It's kind of silly. But it seems like they're substantially scaling back their ambitions there. And as someone who likes VR, it's kind of a bummer because I feel like the Quest headsets, they're largely, subsidized from what I understand, or they're basically like sold at cost. So like there's some cool tech in there and it's inexpensive. So like if they scale back on their plans and that means we don't get more cool Quest hardware, that's kind of a bummer. I know we've got Valve out there with the, making their, what's their new upcoming headset called? It's not the Index. The Index is their like fancy old one, right? Anyone? Frame, yes, Steam Frame, that's right. You win a prize. I should be able to like hand out purple tickets or something. But yeah, I think that one, it sounds like that'll be a bit more expensive, but I think Valve is awesome in, supporting kind of, like I love the Steam Deck and, kind of supporting open, I feel like they're good at not being the bad guy, is what I should say. So, I hope that does well. Ooh, that's cool. Epic Alliance elimination. Ugh. Yeah, this just gets me all thinking about, like, I I just want it to be easier to make something like Epic Alliance Elimination and share it with the world. That's still my goal with like squads mode. To be able to like bust out a Python file, make some cool little mini game, and then play with your friends online. And if other people see it and like it, then they can play it with their friends, you know, like making that process as easy as possible. Not having to be like, oh, hey, take this Python file and decompile your Android and place it here and do the C++. You know, it's like, I salute everyone who gets mods going and shares them and stuff, but it's certainly not as easy as it should be to get that going with friends. I know, I want to make a new minigame. I agree. I want to make new characters, new minigames. Not enough hours in the day, man. Why are you agree? What? Oh yeah, yeah. Poor Valve. I do feel bad about the RAM prices right now. Ick. Well, hopefully, I don't know what the economics are. If as RAM prices, that's all just like AI. Like, is that to blame? It's like a year or two ago. It was all just crypto. Crypto was causing all the problems. Now it feels like that's finally died down a bit, and now freaking AI. Oh. How long would it take for you to make the clay models? For new characters and stuff, I feel like making the clay model is maybe a day or two. I don't know. I can make it faster or slower depending. But for me, that is like the fun part. I love making the clay models. I feel like the tedious and boring part is converting them into actual characters in the game. You know, just because like at that point, it's not like creating something. It's more just like, okay, I'm tracing this in 3D basically, or I'm trying to get this 3D thing looking somewhat like my real life thing. And that's part, I wish technology could do that part for us. And maybe it will be able to at some point. But yeah, that's the more time consuming part is like making, or just, maps and stuff too. Like I feel like, you know, looking at this map, like placing the blocks down on my kitchen counter and like coming up with a design for the map, like that part was fun. It's more just getting it into 3D and making it look accurate to the photographs. Like that was the hard part, or that was the not fun part, and the more time consuming part. So always, keeping my eyes open on photogrammetry stuff, or Gaussian splatting and all this new tech. Though also it does seem like all the new tech that will like automatically scan something into 3D for you, you wind up with like really high poly models, and that's unfortunately, I feel like that's a bit of a deal breaker, just because we want this stuff to run on low end mobile hardware still, and maybe it's just, I don't know, the perfectionist in me loves like, you know, low poly stuff. Microwaves now have built-in AI support. Yeah, it's funny, here in San Francisco, I mean, there's like AI companies everywhere. You know, OpenAI, I can see OpenAI like out my window basically, like they're over by the ballpark there. We got Meta over there, Google's that way. But yeah, like it's funny like going around the city here, if you're like driving on one of the highways, like literally every single billboard is some ridiculous AI thing. It's so like over the top. We just like joke about it. Nice. It's a good mail. When 2.0 is out? Oh, no. As soon as possible. I don't know. I keep thinking like, oh, these side quests, I'll get these under control and then can finally finish off 1.8. But like new side quests keep appearing. It's tricky. I don't know. I don't know how to manage side quests. Like this account spoofing one, that seems very important. That seems like a side quest worth doing. redoing the public party list. I mean, that to me that seems pretty important too, because that old one is just it's so inefficient and wasting so much bandwidth sending that giant list to everybody, and it just kind of glitchy and stuff. I feel like that's a worthwhile side quest. If you guys, I don't know, if I'm talking about a side quest that seems like a waste of time or seems like it would be better pushed off until after 2.0, like maybe holler at me. You guys are my only hope to keep me on task. Favorite character in the game? I'm happy to say I don't really have a favorite character. Like when I'm playing with friends or family or something, I feel like I'll pick one that no one else has picked just to change it up. Ooh, that's cool. You got a name for that one? Wikipedia. I do. That's interesting to think about Wikipedia. I feel like I've used it less. I kind of feel like, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a bad thing, but I feel like something that I would have gone to Wikipedia to look up, I feel like now I'll just like ask ChatGPT or something in terms of, historical things or whatever. I don't know. Maybe that means I'm getting whatever biases ChatGPT or whatever I'm using has, but then again, Wikipedia probably, can be biased too, depending on who is editing particular articles. I mean, it seems pretty good at avoiding that. I feel like I've never read a Wikipedia article that was just like, oh, clearly this is someone with a huge agenda. But I'm sure those exist. Yeah, tinfoil is good. I like that. Biggest fear of this generation to use AI to graduate. Yeah, it is interesting. I do wonder, yeah, if people will be. I mean, it's AI is such a weird thing. Again, I'm back on AI again. I feel like it's a force multiplier. Like if you know what you're doing and you use it to like help you in the right ways, like it can be an awesome tool. But it also does seem like people that don't know what they're doing just let the AI do it for them, and at that point, it's just like a crutch. So I don't know. My thought is that it can be a positive or a negative. But I don't know. Maybe you could make the argument that like someone who doesn't know how to program, if they're vibe coding a useful little app that they can use for themselves, like maybe that's good. Maybe that's better than them not having that app. I guess the problem comes in is like if you're trying to like sell that app or maintain it or whatever. Maybe that stuff will get better. Maybe AI based coding stuff will kind of get frameworks in place where like it's less about spitting out code one time and that's it, and it's more about like maybe like maintaining code will become more of an easy to do thing. Like describe what you want your thing to do, and the AI like improves it over time or something. I don't know. Bolivian flag. Let me. I had a list of. I was going to go in and add some new flags here soon. Next step up. Flags. Bolivia. All right. Any other? Here's my my list of flags I need to add next time I'm in there. Is anyone see anything I'm missing? Morocco, Tunisia, Kazakhstan, Palestine, Bolivia. Chile's not in there? Oh no. What can we expect from AI development? Yeah, who knows? I'm curious. Hard to say. There's some people that say like LLMs and all that are kind of like reaching their limits, and it's going to be it's going to get to the point where everything is AI generated, and then it's going to be hard to train new ones because it's just slop from AI. Slop in equals slop out. Like there's was it model collapse? There's a term for like if you don't have original stuff to like train your models with. I wonder if that is going to be or becoming a problem or something. Like as non-AI stuff dwindles in comparison to AI stuff, if it's going to be harder to train stuff. We'll see though. Um, yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't get to the point where like, you know, AI can just generate GTA 6 before GTA 6 is done, or, you know, some crazy stuff like that. Dodge this. What? Now that we know for a fact that keeping the Android layer build tool doesn't prevent cheating on Android, any other reason to delay the publication of these tools layer? I would say it's mostly at this point, I mean, yeah, cheating doesn't seem to be too bad right now, like with the simple things we have in place. At this point, it's more just like a side quest that like I don't know how to prioritize. You know, if I would say like yeah, if that would be like an important side quest for you guys, like yeah, keep poking or like keep making it known that that is a bottleneck for you guys, which I know it is. That would probably be another like several days thing, I think, to like clean up my pipeline and make that all work. If you guys think that would unlock a ton of stuff on your end, you know, I'm willing to consider doing that sooner rather than later. So yeah, at this point, I feel like squads mode and other things are close enough that I'm not too worried about cheating. And the fact that I turned off rootkit detection and the world didn't end, so it's like I feel okay about things. Okay, all right, I will. Yeah, maybe I'll add that to, you know, near the top of my to-do list, or yeah, take a look at that. It could be one of those things where it's like, oh, it took a day and then I'm done. Hooray. I should think about that more. Like I know like you guys are awesome, all the modding and everything the community's been doing. Like I feel like I should prioritize things more. That like think of things as like how am I blocking the community, and that is definitely a way I'm blocking the community. So that's yeah. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up again, and please keep doing so if you know, if I don't get it done soon. Why the Chilean flag was the first? Wait, is there a Chilean flag? I don't actually keep track of the flags. So like, do we have a Chilean flag already? What are you asking there? Like, was there already a? Yeah, one of these flags are pretty easy to add now. So I've added the bottleneck there was like for a while we were out of space. So there's all these. If you see like the textures in the game, there's some font extras. This is where like all the icons and stuff live. So we have like font extras. So yeah, there were some initial kind of monochrome icons. There's more icons. More. So see, for a while we like ran out of space. Like I had those four, but then I just added a new sheet. So now we have lots of space for more icons. So we had, yeah, Santa hat, holy potato, palm tree, and glove. But yeah, I will. Those are pretty easy to add. So maybe one of the next point updates, I can just throw some of those new icons in there. Let's go to Unreal Engine 5. That would be. I don't know. I mean, obviously, Unreal Engine can do a lot prettier stuff than Bomb Squad's engine. But I don't know if that would be like, aside from being able to do prettier stuff, I don't know if that would be a net win. I mean, it would be a huge amount of dev time to get that in there. But I don't know. Interesting idea still. I was reading that CD Projekt Red, the Polish game devs, the Cyberpunk folks, I think they're switching over to Unreal for their next projects, which it's like Cyberpunk has beautiful rendering, beautiful engine. So I'm curious, like for them, that's got to be an interesting, like they're abandoning all that like custom engine stuff and I guess just jumping to Unreal. So it must be worth it for them if I'm sure that's a ton of work to get their pipelines updated. But then again, I guess Unreal comes with a lot of existing tools and pipelines and all that stuff too. So. But yeah, random note. Big company like that can do it. I guess anyone can do it. TypeScript. There is. It does blow my mind sometimes how fast just like JavaScript-y stuff can run. I know it's being compiled down to machine code basically, but like one thing I always do for fun is, I have it saved here. Yeah, System 7. Boom. So this is an old Mac emulator that's running on. I'm always forgetting the name, where basically you can compile C code into JavaScript. Um, but like this runs so freaking fast. It's emulating. This is literally the first computer I used is a System 7 Mac from like 1995 or something. So I'm dating myself a bit here. But yeah, I love just like busting this out and messing around, playing with like old stuff I used to do and all that. But yeah, just the fact that freaking JavaScript can get compiled down to something that runs so speedy kind of blows my mind. Technology is fun. Try to build a game. I never build a game with my engine changes. Are you running on Windows, or like is there anything? If you're trying to build stuff and things aren't working, like if there's anything we can do or I can do to make the process smoother, like holler, it'd be good to know. I know there's that should be on. Let's see, where is it? I think it's on the GitHub somewhere. Just like getting started guide, right? If you go to wiki, getting started, there should be bits about like setting up environments. Something about building on Windows. Building. Oh, native layer overview. Yeah, I think. So there's some stuff here about like, getting Visual Studio up, building the Windows build, or the same thing with CMake for the Linux builds and stuff like that. If any of you guys go through that process, try to like build the game yourself and you hit a wall, like please holler. I know it's not the easiest thing, but if there's anything we can do to make it simpler. Yeah, I was just assuming Windows. I didn't see what you're running, but yeah, out of all the platforms Bomb Squad runs on, I feel like I know Windows the least, which is not a knock against Windows. It's just I use Mac for development and also I don't actually have I have a Windows desktop for testing, but I don't actually do a ton of work on there. I do like Visual Studio when occasionally I will VNC in and like work on the Windows machine if I'm like iterating on some Windows specific thing, and I do kind of enjoy that, but yeah, I don't use it like as a daily driver. I was reading about something recently where people were building games on super old architectures like Nintendo 64, like building a whatever or Super Nintendo, just doing crazy stuff that like was impossible at the time. That seems like a fun hobby. It seems totally kind of one of those hobbies, like a good hobby that's kind of actually useless for anything in real life, but it would be fun to do. For me, it's weird because Bomb Squad was a hobby for me, and then it turned into a job. I mean, I'm super happy about that. It like makes money, and I can afford to just, it makes me enough that I can keep doing it, which is all I care about. But I was reading some people were saying like never let your hobby become your job, because once like money is involved or deadlines or things like that, it just sucks all the fun out of it. And I was thinking I've maybe been lucky. I've avoided having that happen. Like to me, working on Bomb Squad feels like a hobby. So, fingers crossed that continues. But that's kind of why, talking about not wanting to like hire a bunch of people and scale up a team and stuff, I kind of feel like that might get into the point where it starts to feel like a job. Like, oh crap, I need to meet these monetization deadlines so I can meet payroll and whatever. Yeah, it's like, that doesn't sound fun. But, everyone's got to pay the bills and stuff too. So it's like, but it's easier for me to pay the bills when it's just me. Fewer mouths to feed. Was this someone's? This was someone. Wait, did I actually say that, or was that someone impersonating me? I don't remember. I think I maybe actually said that as a joke. I don't actually have any midget porn. Oh, it was not. It was very serious. Be careful what you say online. I was dead. Yes, I had. Yes, it's true. No, I got you guys did check my file server. You found the iOS builds. So see if I'm hiding anything, you guys would know about it. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's another interesting topic now is like anything could be AI. So like you can use that as an excuse for anything. Um, I'm curious if we'll get to the point where I think there's already certain things out there with like, cameras embedding signatures and stuff like that to where, there's some sort of way to mostly prove something was a real photo or, I'm wondering if like that will be, I'm just wondering like what will happen with trust, as anyone can show a video of anything, like how will we know what we're watching on the news is a real video? I'm sure in some cases it won't be, but I'm just wondering, I hope, I don't know, I hope systems can come into play that allow people to at least trust things in some cases. It is a little scary though, but yeah. AI dystopia. Ah, yes. That's always where I keep my midget porn, is right next to my iOS app manifests. It's like, where did that file go? Oh, right, my iOS manifest. It's right next to that. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like we all probably have our they always say like the rose colored glasses, like everyone remembers the era when you were between like, or like when you were a teenager, like the world seems perfect to, I know not to everyone, but I certainly have fond feelings of in the mid 90s when I was a teenager in high school and stuff like that. We had our first computer and like a crappy internet connection, and I would just talk with friends on AOL Instant Messenger after school, stuff like that. So to me, that seems like, oh, what a beautiful, pure, simple internet it was back then. Or yeah, for you, like 2008 to 2016, it probably does seem more simple and pure than now. Makes me wonder, the kids who are growing up now, like just becoming teenagers, like what are they going to be longing for? Like, oh man, I missed 2026 era internet before we had like X. I'm curious what the X will be. Yeah, that's all I'm saying is like I think we all, and maybe to a degree things were better in some cases. Like I feel like there was less, corporate nastiness on the internet. It was kind of a purer thing, but I think to a degree it's like rose-colored glasses though too. Oh yeah, I had my first cell phone. I was a late bloomer. I didn't get a cell phone until like everyone else I knew had one. But yeah, I had like one flip phone back in like, I was even late then getting like an iPhone. I didn't get an iPhone until like iPhone 4. So I was rocking my like flip phone up until like 2010 or something. But yeah, there'll probably be people talking about like, oh, remember before AI, the same way they talked about, oh, remember before smartphones or remember before the internet. Like that's a weird one. I know I'm kind of old, but like, yeah, I can remember before we had internet. Like, I don't know how we did anything. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Silly nostalgia. Yeah, I love all the old jokes about those old Nokias just being like absolutely indestructible. I didn't have a Nokia, so I can't contribute to that conversation, but I like watching the memes and stuff. Igpe Atenlay, I think. Yeah, I know a dialect of Pig Pig Latin. Akbe and they everything a. I don't know. I've never actually tried to say a full sentence in Pig Latin, but oh man, this chat is getting very existential. Should play some emo music. Did any of you guys have emo period? Like, I remember there was like the emo period in the U.S. at least, about 2005 to through 2010 or something. Did you guys have emo periods? Just like with the emo music and everyone just being emo. It was a whole vibe. Yes. I had like one cousin. I love him. He was very much. Well, he was a teenager at the time, and he was like super emo. So I just think of him whenever I see stuff like that. Oh yeah, there was a. So I'm somewhat near the baseball stadium here in San Francisco, and there was a concert for some. Oh, who was that? Oh man, I'm so bad at remembering things. It was some group that I was familiar with, but like they had like an emo anthem, and so like I heard them playing, and then I like looked into that, and then I just like kind of got into that song. What are big emo music groups? What bands do I remember? Oh man, I had '90s bands. Like I was a teenager in the '90s, so I everything is, yeah, everything in the '90s. Emo bands. I could go scrolling through. Let's see. I will scroll through my iTunes or my music app. See if I can find it. Got to be around here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, My Chemical Romance. Welcome to the Black Parade. Yeah. So apparently that was kind of a emo anthem or something, or kind of associated with the emo period. So anyway, yeah, I was like playing that recently. I was like, oh, feeling a little emo. Or that one song, How Could This Happen to Me? A Simple Plan, was that? Ah, yes. So. But yeah, I'm listening to like random music lately. I feel like I don't have like a single type of music I listen to. Oh, actually, I'm still doing the whole like my favorite thing ever is just like vibey YouTube stuff, like this kind of like 80s synthy type thing. I think I've shown that before, or just all these like my just like Blade Runner-ish, futuristic like background ambient sounds. Like I love that. Just throw some of that in the background while I'm coding. Just feels like I'm in Blade Runner or something. Do you guys have what do you guys listen to, or do you listen to something like when you're scripting or coding or modding or whatever? Oh, I totally like read this in like the singer's voice. Okay. I'm I'm somewhat like that. Like if I'm doing something low uh, that requires like less intellectual energy or mental energy, then I can listen to stuff. That's also why I keep it like real simple things where it's like not a ton of like, it's more just like auras and less like music and lyrics and stuff. Um, but yeah, if I'm working on something where I really have to be thinking, then yeah, I have to turn the music off and just like focus. Very annoying bug. Makes changes to our controls or settings, such as saving the IP port of the servers. Could you elaborate on this one more? Are you talking about the server builds? Cool, cool. I knew one of the best programmers I know. He's from Germany. He like listens to like death metal while he's coding. So that was like, what? I mean, maybe I should try that. Maybe it like puts your brain in just like but yeah, to me, I feel like I wouldn't be able to like think at all. Nothing against death metal, but code on paper. Yes. Yes, we should come up with strict regulations for Bomb Squad. All characters and maps must be made out of real world things in the real world. All code must be written on paper. We're just, yeah. We're going to be like the Amish. Just going to turn into like some religious cult where everything has to be made in the real world. Not to call the Amish a cult. They're more just like a group. I feel like cults has like negative connotations. Oh no, this is never going to go away, is it? Yes, punch cards. I didn't experience punch cards. That would have been probably like the 70s or something, maybe? The 60s? I don't know. Before my time. I feel like I experienced some like old man coding stuff. Like when the one programming class I took in high school was in Pascal, which is, even then, I think that language was on its way out. And yeah, you never hear about it now. But so that was a little old timey. Like a year or two later, they switched that same class to C++. So it probably would have been beneficial for me to wait a year or two before taking that. But oh well. I have a little bit of Pascal knowledge in here, deep down somewhere. But yeah, I was not old enough for like punch cards or super old stuff like that. How can you do this reunions? Like, what do you mean, like this? Coffee with Eric? Or what are you talking about, reunions? Oh, we just, my wife and I, we just went through The Office also. We didn't, or the American one at least. We didn't do the last season though after Steve Carell left. We heard some people said that was not worth doing. So we didn't technically finish it. So we could watch that last season at some point. Oh, is it the last two? Well, yeah, whatever the without Michael parts. It just kind of seemed like, eh. So we we jumped from that to Silicon Valley. So I highly, if any of you haven't watched Silicon Valley, I highly recommend that. It is freaking hilarious. Part of it is just because I live in the Bay Area here, like close to Silicon Valley, and it's so like true. There's so many just like jokes and stereotypes that are just like, yep. Even though that was like, it's like 10 years old at this point, it's still like hilariously accurate in some ways. Yeah, I would agree. They probably shouldn't have gone on without like, yeah, the effectively main character, I feel, or yeah, but I'm sure the show was so popular at the time. I'm sure there was a lot of dollar signs saying otherwise. Uh, Bots in local games. This has been discussed before. I would love to do that. The tricky part is, I feel like the tricky part there is almost like the interface for how you would set it up. Because if we did have bots, they would have to be kind of specific to the game types. You'd really have to like program the bot specifically to play the specific mini game, which means you couldn't just like start a Teams game and add bots and assume that the bots would do anything meaningful most of the time. You'd have to like limit the games you played, or maybe the playlist itself would have to have like bots specified in the individual games or something. Like if you see what I'm saying, it's almost more like a how do you do that? um, that might be worth revisiting. I think once squads mode comes into play, because squads mode might be more like what I'm envisioning squads mode as being is more, like if you're playing Clash Royale or, one of those games where you just hop into a game, play a little bit, and then you can hop into another. It's not like you're playing a playlist. So that might be more doable there, where like you'll hop into a capture the flag and there'll be some bots. And then after that, you'll hop into a target practice, but there's no bots because we haven't coded them for target practice or something like that. So that might fit better. Oh, that reminds me. I still need to fix this window. I've made most of the windows like scale to the screen size on small UI scale, but this one still does not. So it looks a little janky, where it's like this giant floating back button, and the window doesn't really fill the space. But anyway, sorry, nitpicks. To add AK-47. Yes, everything's better with AK-47. What? Every bullet is a ChatGPT transaction. Oh dear. Oh dear. I am curious to see if, which my hope is that all the modding stuff I've been building, like workspaces and auto translations and stuff, I hope that stuff gets used. But I'm curious to see, like, once it does start getting used, like, if that's going to be costing a lot of money and, like, Gemini transactions and stuff. But that's why I've done, like, I made it token based where I can, like, charge a few tokens and hopefully not bankrupt myself if that starts getting used a lot. But I think it would be worthwhile if it does get used a lot. I'd love for, if people can make, my goal is, like, if you can make a mod or whatever and then just do, like, add your own translation entries. Because, like, I'm the bottleneck right there. If someone wants to make a mod right now and have it show up in all languages, like, I have to add those entries to, like, the one translation list that the game has. So this hopefully will fix that. Yes, not pay to win at all. That sounds wonderful. Gun that will fire bombs. Oh, that'd be fun, actually, kind of. Like little bombs, not like, or even big ones. I don't know. There are, like, I mean, people have done some awesome stuff with mods, but I feel like I have a ton of ideas too that would be fun. Just like like a mortar thing, shoots bombs really far, but like you have to aim it like really slowly so people can see if you're like aiming at them, which could be fun on like certain levels if you're like trying to defend something or something like that. Then some dude gets a mortar and he's like aiming for your important thing, so you have to like go out and I'm just trying to think of like ways that you could add like fun strategy, even though these are like small maps and simple situations. This could be, I feel like stuff like this, the idea of like power-ups that you could use in co-op or in campaigns, I feel like that would be great. I feel like I would want to limit it to the campaign though. I've talked about wanting to have individual things that kind of feel like complete games, like a campaign where all the characters are playing certain, have different roles, or there's a story, or maybe there could be power-ups like that, to where like as you go on, you could get stuff that just makes it easier to complete the levels. But I wouldn't want to have that stuff apply everywhere, because I feel like that would be a balancing nightmare, if you add the same as like specific powers for specific characters. I feel like if you have something like that applies everywhere, it's just going to make it impossible to balance certain things. Like obviously if you have a character that is really weak but fast, they're just going to dominate race minigames, stuff like that. Or it would just be really, you could make it so that races deal enough damage that it would balance out, but that would still be to kill, that those characters die more often, so being faster maybe doesn't help. But like that still would be really hard to balance. Balancing every mini game for every combination of things. So that's why I would love for like power-ups that would help in single player games, or character specific powers or stuff like that. Like that would be great. I just think we should, keep it constrained to one specific campaign or mode or something like that. Again, I'm hoping leaning on squads mode for a lot of that stuff, because I want to be able to have people to run their own. I'm just calling them leagues right now, but I need to come up with a better term. Just little like game worlds or whatever. You can go into that league, and maybe that league is just like RPG league. So anyway, more on that later. Yeah, that's a good way. When you can design stuff. Right now everything in the game obviously does work in co-op and PvP. But yeah, I could see there being certain things that would be really fun in co-op, but you wouldn't want them to be included in PvP. I don't know, some crazy power-up that just like nukes all enemies on the screen or something. It could be fun in like a co-op situation, I feel like a lot of games have that. Like I remember playing like Contra 3 on Super Nintendo back in the day, and there was like a nuke button. It would just be like blow up every enemy on the screen, and you get like one of those. So like that could be cool, but obviously you wouldn't want that in PvP. That would be very frustrating to the other players. What? Yeah, speed shoes. There was speed shoes in the original pre 1.0 version. Um, it was kind of fun. That originated from, if you play Bomberman, speed shoes is a thing. So you get these power ups that give you more bombs, and then you get these power ups that give you faster speed. At least in the versions I've played. And so you can get more and more speed shoes, and then you're like zipping around the level, dropping more bombs. It gets more and more chaotic. It's kind of fun. So very early versions of Bomb Squad were like that, where you could like get more and more bombs, and so it kind of became fun and chaotic. But it didn't feel like controlled chaos. It just felt like, okay, now you're fast and bombs are everywhere, and now you're dead. You know, it wasn't something like, I feel like in Bomberman, because it's so like grid based, you know, you can be more like strategic and like lay a bunch of bombs and go around a corner. And with Bomb Squad and the physics and all that, though, like being fast is not always a good thing. So that's kind of why I took out the speed power up. In certain places, it just made it impossible to not like fall off cliffs. Uh-oh, am I missing? Oh, I don't see big ones, big messages. Ooh. So on that note, it looks like it's been 2+ hours, so we should probably be, if my calculations are correct, probably should be wrapping up here for the day. I can get back to work on finally getting V2 authentication fixed. So I was going to say we need a word for the video for this week. I'm not using that one. I don't want to get banned off YouTube or anything. So what is a good topic that is PG rated? Scores not submitting. Is that happening consistently? Like, maybe send me a direct message. I can take a look at your account, see if there's anything weird. There's always a chance you maybe got permabanned accidentally. That is possible, where sometimes if you get a suspicious score or other things can happen, your account can get flagged as being a hacker. So I can unflag it if that happens wrongly. So yeah, just shoot me a DM. I'll try to do that. Peruvian flag. Do I have that on my list? Let me see. It is now. Okay. Last call for new flags. Does anyone here like not have a flag in the game and not see it on this list? Burp, burp, burp. Going once, going twice. I can always add more later, but I'll try to add these whenever I add new icons. I'll just do a big batch. So Chile is already in the game. Okay, someone had mentioned Chile up before, so I figured maybe it wasn't. I don't have memorized exactly what's in there and what's not. Colombia. Colombia's not, okay. No, please. You don't want Colombia to be represented? That's not cool. I think the ones I added, I just looked at like the list of, you know, countries where most players were or something like that at the time, which is probably very different from now. Everything like fluctuates. So I don't want to leave anyone out. Add the, I was like, Epstein flag? What? No. Sorry. Pirate flag. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. I kind of like that. Just, you know, you can keep with the theme. I mean, we have pirate speak, so it makes sense. Oh, Chilean and Argentinian were the only ones in the game. Oh, okay. Brazil. Oh yeah. Okay. You guys, you separate out Brazil. Those darn non-Spanish speakers. How similar is? I had a old friend of mine. He spent some time in Brazil, so he spoke some Portuguese. How similar is that to Spanish? Like, can you understand anything if someone is speaking Portuguese as a Spanish speaker, or vice versa? Do you guys know? Random bit of trivia I'm curious about. I could just ask ChatGPT. Yeah, I was planning to add Peru. These are the ones I'm flags. I will add. There. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to like blur out half this conversation before I add it to YouTube. No, it's not actually that bad, but Mel, he's a happy guy, you know. I don't judge Mel. Oh, interesting. Okay, pronunciations, huh? All good. All good. Oh. All right. Well, anyway, on that note, I think I will wrap it up for today. If you have any last second flags to add or thoughts for video titles, shoot them out now. But so in terms of, yeah, Coffee with Eric, I enjoy doing Coffee with Eric, but it has also been useful doing just office hours on Wednesdays too. So maybe I'll try to make a habit of doing at least a little office hours every week, and then we can just have Coffee with Eric every few weeks, kind of like before, or yeah. Yeah, we can kind of. It would be great to have Coffee with Eric, like when there's something to like I can show you guys. I didn't quite have the V2 authentication fully done today, so I couldn't give you a proper demo, but it was mostly there, and we haven't had one in forever, so it was good to do. Mel flag, yes. I mean, we could possibly expand to that. It's mostly just, well, there are also, like, if that does open it up to copyrighted stuff or things like that spreading on its own, you know, it's like, I hate to be a control freak, but it is, I do like to somewhat, if stuff is on like public server lists and things like that, I do want to be able to control either what's on that list or what the servers in that list are showing. I guess right now, you know, technically servers can have modded stuff that are on the public list, but that's pretty limited since you have to install those mods anyway. But if it got to the point where the server list is full of like, you know, Mario Luigi Land, stuff like that, like that's going to be a problem for me. So, but it's also like, I do want to strike a balance too. I don't want everything to be just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like tightly control the game too much, but there are upsides about having things be centrally managed too, and that like it'll yeah, I don't know, I'll have to consider the upsides and downsides, or if you have ideas how we could like enable that, but you know, I guess it could just be like as long as I have an easy way to, you know, hide servers from the public list that are showing copyrighted stuff, like maybe that would be okay. Worth talking about more. Oh my gosh. Okay, I got it. It's getting out of control. Anyway, all right, it's been fun, everyone. So yeah, let's do it again soon. Or next week will probably be office hours, and then yeah, we'll have another Coffee with Eric in a few weeks or whenever. Or if I have something to demo with the V2 auth, we could maybe do one sooner rather than later. Anyway, been fun, everyone. So thanks for joining, and catch you all next time. So peace out.